Okay, Brad, some good science happened this week that I learned about on the blue skies.
Hang on. Is there such a thing as bad science before we get into this?
I feel like there's been some medical research done at different periods of time in history that is, I would describe as probably bad science.
That's a darker place than I expected you to go with this. Maybe let's talk about the good science.
Yeah. So this is good science. They have figured out that there is a fixed ratio of total area of a puzzle to the amount of space you need to lay out all of the pieces of the puzzle unassembled, so that you can see and access all the pieces. So you know how big your table needs to be. Like, you can look at your table, figure out what its area is, and figure out what the maximum size puzzle you can use on that table is.
Talking about a jigsaw puzzle, to be clear.
This is serious science, Brad. Jigsaw puzzles, yes.
I am no mathematician. I don't know if I've got my terms straight. Is there some kind of transform or something that you need to do as you start completing the puzzle? Once you start putting the pieces in place, do the parameters change of the space required?
Well, I think that area is going to get smaller, right? Because it gets more compressed, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But the TLDR, and this was Madeline Bonsma Fisher posted this, who's mbonsma.bsky.social. They have an archive post that explains the math behind it all. The upshot is an unassembled jigsaw puzzle takes up an area that is the square root of 3 times the area of the assembled puzzle, or approximately 1.7 times the assembled area. Okay. And that is, the neat thing about it is it's independent of the number of pieces, because you'd think smaller pieces, smaller area, more compression, blah, blah, blah. Not true. If you have like a 10-piece kid puzzle or a 2,000-piece, like, hey, I have OCD puzzle, both of them, same amount of space, 1.7-ish times the assembled area.
Love a formula that scales. I see that she answered my question. She posted a graph that graphs the exact thing I was wondering about: assembled area against unassembled area.
Yeah.
Over the lifespan of the puzzle completion, you can see exactly how this is going to evolve.
Well, and the neat thing is the data fits the plot almost perfectly. It's kind of bonkers. It's like the kind you don't see ever. And they showed some examples of like 9-piece kid puzzles and 2,000-piece adult puzzles, and it's the same area each time.
I have an unrelated jigsaw puzzle story.
Do you like puzzles, Brad?
I like puzzles. I haven't done one in 35 years probably, but sure.
We did some puzzles a few years ago. It's fun. We did some pandemic puzzles. It was a good way to kill an afternoon.
It seems like one of those kind of flow state things that would be nice to just zone out on, kind of like painting or practicing a musical instrument, just sort of let your mind go slack. Yeah, as you do a thing.
Well, it's collaborative too, which is nice. You can sit around a table, share some time with each other, help people find pieces. I don't know. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Anyway, the real quick thing I was going to bring up, like, are you familiar with the concept of a sidewalk library? People that don't live in cities or dense urban neighborhoods might not have seen these. The
little free libraries. Yeah, they're look, let me tell you, if you want to drive around a Northern California suburban neighborhood, I guarantee you our density of little free libraries is higher than yours.
This is, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're talking about mine specifically?
And in your neighborhood, yes.
You should come to this neighborhood and put that theory to the test, because they are about every 2 blocks here.
Oh, there are 4 on my street.
Okay, fine. Anyway, It was a phenomenon of the pandemic. I think they started popping up like crazy during the pandemic. Also, a lot of them are very nice around here. It's like actual woodworking, and they're painted, and they have hinged doors with windows in them and custom.
How else would you make a door without a hinge?
Well, yes. I mean, look, it's been a long week.
I helped Gary Whitta pour concrete to anchor theirs in place.
Wow.
Years it started the pandemic, maybe the year before even. I can't remember.
Anyway, those are all for books.
Yeah.
Until somebody close to here, 2 blocks away, did one for jigsaw puzzles.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yes. I believe that they called it the Puzzle Palace.
That's pretty good.
There was a puzzle of Princess Diana in there for some time.
Wow.
It's on our route to the grocery store, which we go to once a week and we always go on $5 Fridays. So we get a good weekly interval of walking by the Puzzle Palace.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, someone murdered a puzzle.
What?
And its innards were spread all up and down the block.
Not okay, dude.
I don't know exactly what sequence of events occurred, but there were tiny puzzle pieces all up and down the street for like weeks afterwards. Who would do such a thing?
That's horrific. That is the worst thing. Like, look, we have a fair amount of Lego in the garage, because I have a fair look. Gina and I went through some would say we're still going through it. We have a Lego. This is our Lego era, and there sometimes you pull a Lego off the shelf in the garage and the end's not closed, and the Ziploc bag falls and it explodes and all the pieces come out, and then you're like looking for Lego on the floor of the garage for the next 6 weeks.
Are you suggesting I'm being too harsh, that maybe this was like a small child that fumbled a puzzle trying to get it out of the palace?
I'm saying maybe it was an accident. I can see it, but like I feel like there's look at that point. Once the pieces fall on the street, it's probably done, right? There's probably nothing you can do.
Are you saying my campaign to promote harsh prosecution of puzzle murder is premature?
I'm just saying, sometimes accidents happen. I assume best intent, and I'm going to say that maybe the person who packed the puzzle is at fault here, Brad.
Well, those are words to live by.
Welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I'm Brad. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Brad, something novel has happened.
What's that?
Well, so I started working at Maximum PC in 2000.
Okay.
And then I went straight from Maximum PC to Tested, and I left Tested to start Foo. And as Foo was closing down, Chet sent me an email and was like, hey, you want to come play my game? And then I ended up going to work for Stray Bombay. I'm officially leaving Stray Bombay at the start of the new year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't have a job for the first time in 23 years.
That's the novel part.
That's the novel part.
How does that feel?
It's not great.
Okay.
Brad, it's not great.
Right.
If people, I have a weird skill set, which makes it hard. Like if I was like a graphics programmer, it would be fairly straightforward because you just go and look at the graphics programmer jobs. But when you're like the guy who knows how to make the computers do the things that are convenient and also can do like some sound stuff and make PowerPoint decks for business presentations and do the business presentations and talk to the partners and all that, it's like 30 different little jobs that make one big job.
Yes.
But if anybody knows people who need that kind of skill set, please reach out. I'm available. Starting early next year. So, yeah, weird stuff.
Yeah. Hire this man if you're listening and you have a job.
Yeah. If you're a hiring manager, please reach out.
I identify with you as I have a fairly similar skill set to yours and have worn a large number of similar hats over time. And I also live in fear of having to go get a real full-time job if this ever goes away, because what do I say that I do? I can do a lot of things, but not any one of them or even the sum total of them really can be described as a specific job.
I work in operations, I think. Operations and communications.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like I can edit audio and video. I can write. I can do, light coding, like all kinds of stuff. But
you're a generalist.
Yes, I think you introduced me to the phrase aggressive generalist, and I like that a lot, but I don't know if the hiring world does. I'm
going to put that on my LinkedIn, actually. The upshot is it means that we're good for small companies and maybe not great for big companies, which is fine.
Like I have never had a better time in my career than the early days of Giant Bomb. When it was just see a thing that needs to be done and do it. And if you don't know how to do it, figure it out, because that is the environment in which I thrive absolutely the most.
I do. That is what I like about working at small companies. I try a big company. I'm not. Let's not close any doors here. Is what I'm saying.
Their money is equally green.
Yeah. It would be nice to work someplace that I don't know I don't know the explicit details of the financials of the company. I've done that for the last 10 years. I mean, it's maybe not the best. Yeah. It's stressful, more stressful. Yes. I wouldn't mind a stressful in a different axis for a little bit, maybe. But yeah, so that's what I got going on.
Yeah. Okay.
Life sometimes comes at you fast, I guess, is the phrase.
I'm not going to get into it, but
you've talked about it in other venues. Well,
kind of. It's a lot of family stuff happening. It's been a bad month for my family.
I'm sorry, Brad.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't don't like talk about stuff like this publicly, but I bring it up because, hey, we're here to do a supplemental Q&A this week. And I hope people don't mind an extra Q&A this month because it was about what we had the capacity to get together.
Well, yeah. So the initial plan was to do a 30th anniversary Doom episode because this is the 30th anniversary Doom week. I think we'll probably at some point in the future still do that because I would like to talk about that.
Yes, I would love to.
But it's not going to happen this week. It's the TLDR. So apologies in advance.
We should do that. The weird rules that I impose on myself. I'm like, well, did we do it in the week of the anniversary? No, then we can't do it. And I'm like, and then I stop and I'm like, what if we came back in mid-January and we're like, hey, last month was the 30th anniversary of Doom. Let's do an episode about it.
I think that's
a reason we can't do that.
See, I don't believe in the podcast rules, so I say we should do that.
Yes. Okay.
I'm highlighting stuff in the Q's and the A's, but so we went back. The last couple of months actually have been ripe for questions. Yes. We didn't get through anywhere near the number of questions that either of us wanted to. Yeah. So bonus pre-holiday Q&A, and depending on how stuff goes with your personal stuff, we might have some guest hosts for the next couple of weeks, just as a full warning for people going forward.
Yes. To be clear, we are not taking any of the next month's questions. These are all questions we had flagged and just didn't get to previously. So if you asked any December questions, those are not in the hopper yet.
And just in case, I know people will be worried, but like your family stuff is not like you're healthy and
I am healthy.
Yes,
I will leave it at that.
Okay. Perfect. If people have questions, you can email them to us at techpod@content.town, or if you're in the Discord, if you're a patron, you can go to the Question Seeking Answers channel, and that is where we pull all of these questions from. Here's the first one.
Okay, first question from FBC here. Hello, Will and Brad. Any ad blocking tips now that YouTube seems to be cracking down on most ad block extensions? So I have a 10-year-old. We watch a lot of YouTube in this house. I actually just pay them. Yeah, that was going to be my first suggestion as well. I think we've talked about it some recently, especially since I got this new TV. I've been watching a ton of YouTube as well, and I also am just like, maybe I should just pay them.
So my feeling on ad blocking is complicated, partly because I worked in a business that was supported by ads for the first 20 years of my career.
Yes, I very much feel the same.
My feeling is that as long as the publishers and publications are operating in good faith, I generally don't block ads on their sites.
Yes.
And the moment I see a fucking toenail fungus or like earwax removal or some sort of scam ad or an ad for an app that removes that you can upload somebody's picture to and then it posts a naked picture of them, thanks Twitter, I'll never see an ad on their site again. So they get added. So I start with a blank list and only block the malicious advertisers and the malware advertisers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's something nice you can do for publications that you respect and want to support is allow them in whatever browser extension, or if you use Pi-hole for like kind of whole network ad blocking, but allowing sites you want to support. Display ads are not worth what they used to be, let's say, but it helps.
And the thing I'll say is that generally I don't feel any compunctions about blocking network ads. I don't feel compunctions about blocking ads that look like content but aren't. So things like the I can't remember, Joomla or something. That's not it. It's not Joomla. It's Taboola. The ads that they style to look like your more news item blocks that are offsite ads that are just paged farms basically are the pits. So I'm also with the rise of malware, like just to be clear, I don't blame anybody for blocking ads with the amount of malware that's distributed on advertising networks these days.
Yeah. So also tracking actually has become a big one for me ever since we did that online security episode ages ago. The amount of information that is being phoned home about what you're doing to people who are aggregating it for like ad serving purposes and stuff is gross. Block
all the Facebook, block all the Twitter buttons, block all that crap. uBlock Origin is still the recommended choices. It's what I've been using for years. And then I do run a Pi-hole for iOS devices, basically. Yes. Although that requires a little bit of, if you have IPv6 set up on your iOS device, you have to do some shenaniganry to get it to block, to get it to go through the Pi-hole for DNS.
I don't remember what the cost of YouTube, like just YouTube Premium.
I think I pay $16 for a family one, which includes my daughter's account.
Right. So you can do family stuff. They also roll it in with like YouTube Music, right, and some other stuff. So there's a bunch of bundles you could get. But I think, what is it? Is it like 10 a month is the cheapest?
Premium
or is it looks like
Ooh,
or maybe
wow,
there's
individual is $13 a month. Maybe they've jacked the price up on it.
that's for also YouTube Music though. I wonder if they're not actually selling just YouTube Premium anymore. Maybe you have to get the bundle with music.
They don't. I wonder if when I canceled, I got bumped up to the new one. It's $22.99 a month for a family of 5 people, which is kind of bonkers. You can do a student membership for $8, which is probably pretty easy to back into.
That's kind of unfortunate that you can't get it without music bundled, because I would probably rather use a different music streaming service if I could help it. But anyway, and you can't, even if you jump through the hoops to block it on your computer in a browser, you still wouldn't be blocking the ads on any other device you might watch YouTube on. So
no, the Pi hole doesn't help with that either, as far as I can tell.
You kind of have to pay if you want the whole adless experience. But I like YouTube absolutely has its problems, but it's also, if you're using it well, it's a pretty good service. It's probably worth paying for.
I mean, so just to be clear, if it wasn't my kid's primary source of video viewing, I wouldn't pay for it.
Sure.
Like I don't use it enough to not tolerate an occasional ad. But she does. And honestly, I want her insulated from the ads as much as possible, because the internet ads are bad.
Yes, for sure. I don't remember. I feel like I read how it was that they were cracking down on this, but I don't remember. But I feel like there was some punitive aspect, wasn't there? Like if they caught people blocking ads on YouTube, they were starting to do something. I can't remember what it was.
They were making videos take a really long time to load.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
They also do that for Firefox, just because.
Basically,
I think that was a bug.
Oh, that's fucked up.
I think I air quoted that just for audio listeners, aka everybody listening to the show. But
that's a weird one. Like degrading the quality of the service to punish people seems like it is as likely to just drive them away as it is to correct the behavior. I
don't know. It's like giving a cosmetic item that adds a VAC ban to your Dota account.
God. I cannot believe that. Do we know if that was a one-off? Did they do that custom for somebody?
A bunch of people.
A bunch of people got it?
A bunch of people got them reportedly.
So if people don't know, you can probably go on Twitter and find this, or somewhere else. Just Google about it, I guess.
But it'll be on YouTube and Twitch too, yeah.
They started issuing account bans to Dota players, prominent Dota players, like streamers, in the form of like loot boxes, essentially. Like
loot boxes you receive as part of the holiday thing, yes. It seems like.
It's like a seasonal like gift bag or whatever their holiday chest is for this year, and then people are opening it and finding a like toxic lump of coal in there, and as soon as they opened it, it banned their account.
It's good for a 5-day VAC ban or something. Yeah, it's nuts.
It's really impressive stuff.
I mean, it's a level of spite I'm impressed with. Anyway,
yes. All right. Well, actually, talking about Valve, how about I read this question from Warbird?
Sure.
Given Valve's ongoing commitment to Linux and remote streaming of games, do you feel there is a market for a StreamOS box that does for remote first gaming what SteamOS and Steam Deck have done for ease of use Linux gaming?
I think you could probably make that really easily without having to yes. I think that Valve should make an inexpensive low power box you can plug into your TV to stream stuff from your giant PC in the other room. 100%. Like a new Steam Link, essentially a Steam Link 2, something much more capable than the very outdated Steam Link. Yeah, the Steam Link, the first gen Steam Link, I think only had an 802.11n. I think that's maybe right. It had AC. I can't remember. But it's also limited to 1080p, Yeah, no HDR. No greater than 60 hertz, no HDR. I don't think it needs to be a whole new OS. That to me, the thing that you described, it sounds like a Steam OS device that just doesn't have a screen or controllers attached to it. Yeah. Although the thing with Valve is they emphasize their built-in Steam streaming, and that is great for Steam games, but it's not so great for non-Steam games. Like there are solutions like Moonlight, but that is not something Valve seems interested in supporting. You can run Moonlight and Chiaki and Greenlight on top of SteamOS really easily. Right. That was the point. You can set that up. Yeah. So but I'm kind of thinking for people who would want just something that worked out of the box for like everything they play on a PC. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to. Yeah. I mean, it's not that hard to add. Most third-party stuff works pretty well now. It's the Windows Store Game Pass games that are the real hard ones to add to Steam these days. Yeah. That is a pain. But also you can stream those from xCloud really easily for the most part. So like that there's solutions for those problems.
Yes. Question from, this is an inside baseball question from Shags Magoo. What topics do you guys consider out of bounds for the Tech Pod?
What is technology, Brad?
Man, technology. I'm not even going to try to sing that stupid song. I almost want to turn this question around on the audience and say, like, what do and don't you want us to talk about? Like, I tend to think I probably have a far too narrow view of the things we should be talking about on here. Like, every time we do something that feels like it's not tech related, I'm like, should we be talking about that? Is that actually science or tech? And then I'm like, wait, who cares? It's our podcast.
My feeling, there's some things I avoid just because I don't want the drama that comes with talking about them.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I'm not going to give examples of that, so don't ask. There are actually, I can give, like, sex toys. We're not going to get into sex toys just because it creates, every time we've tried it in the past on other stuff, it's been a disaster.
Wait, you've tried it in the past?
I tested. No, we didn't untest it, but I consulted on other sites where it became problematic.
Interesting. Okay.
And just to be clear, it wasn't because the intended audience was bad. It was because the unintended audience was bad.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yep. Sure.
We're not going to probably do drug stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'd do a lot of weed tech. I might joke about it.
Yeah.
But like, I just don't need that in my life.
Also, it's been done.
There's other people that are doing it better. So, but yeah, no, I think anything that, like, technology is this is Roman Mars had a good answer for this that I don't remember exactly what it is. So I'm not going to try to repeat it, but he's like, look, everything's designed.
Sure.
At this point, everything's technology. Cars are technology. Boats are technology. Farming is technology. I think, should we do a Monsanto episode? Probably not, but I think we would fit in the mandate if we wanted to.
Yeah, I think so. But I also fully expect there are people who would just say, like, hey, we're just listening to the podcast to hear you, and you can talk about whatever you want. So
yeah,
but you kind of, we did set out to do like a sort of topic based show. So I guess we do want to kind of keep it on topic as much as we can.
I mean, I think that's the question going forward, right? I think we've this year, especially partly because we've both been busy on other things a lot. But the single topic format is hard. Because not because you run out of topics, but because, like, you run out of the topics that don't require extensive just to be clear, usually when we do a topic episode, it's at least a half dozen hours of research externally for one or both of us. And as we get deeper down the list of those topics, like, you get to a point where the 6 hours becomes 20 hours and we're like, we should hire an external producer to help us with this. And then all of a sudden the financial, like the financials of the podcast don't work as well. And that colors that decision. So I guess, I don't know. Like, I don't want to do a news roundup show because there's enough people doing that. Our friends over at Daily Tech do a good job with that stuff. But I would be curious what people think. So if people have thoughts about this, please send them in or post them in the feedback thread on the Discord.
Yeah, absolutely. Question from Narfinger. Will we ever see a mid-range graphics card for under $800 US?
Man, I don't know. I think we should. I think the fact that the mid-range has crept up from $200 to $500 to $800 over the last decade is unfortunate. It is unfortunate.
And how much of that is inflation and how much of that is quote unquote inflation, how much of that is profit seeking.
Yeah.
I mean, NVIDIA's got like massive R&D to account for now. Like, what goes into.
They always have, though.
Well, I know, but like, if you like, there's a lot you can knock on NVIDIA in terms of like their business model or like price increases and stuff like that. But like the product offering, and I don't mean to like exclude Intel or AMD here, like they're doing good stuff too. But like, if you look at what comprises a graphics card now versus 20 years ago, like all the machine learning stuff, all of the like broadcast features that go along with that, like DLSS as its own performance booster, kind of
5+ ports, even like the
NVEnc video encoding stuff, like what you get out of that card now versus what it could do 20 years ago, which was just play games, is kind of nuts. I'm not justifying the soaring costs, but there is a lot in the package now.
I mean, so the thing is, the cost of This is something we talked about a lot as we were coming up on 1.0 for the Anacrusis, is like, what should the min spec be? Because the card will run on like a 900 series NVIDIA card, which is a 9-year-old card at this point. It's not a great experience, but it's as good as the Xbox One experience is, which the game also will run on. So like, you know, I like a 1080p, we're in a weird spot with GPUs where often the thing is the gate is actually the amount of video RAM, because like a 16 gig system with a 3 gig video card in it right now will often crash in games that it'll run fine on, because it runs out of memory and starts churning, and the threads get out of whack, and then the whole thing crashes, right? Not just we fix that in our game because we're running on the Xbox One, but a lot of games that aren't running on older hardware have that issue. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a weird perception still among a lot of people who play games that like a 2080 is a pretty modern, up-to-date machine. And the bad news is like a 2080 at this point is a 6-year-old card, right? It's an old GPU. Yeah.
Like former high end, or especially 2 to 3 to 4 generations old high end, it doesn't stay high end forever. At some point, a high end card becomes a low end.
Yeah, well, and because of the pandemic and the shortages around the Bitcoins, the Ethereum stuff, like a lot of people kind of in their heads skipped the 3000 series cards entirely,
sure,
and that whole generation, and as a result, like that 2080 still feels new. Like yeah. I'm not faulting the players for this. I'm just saying it's like it is a perception, and as we start seeing PS5 and Xbox Series native games launch, those players are going to get left behind, because those games will not run on the old hardware.
Can I jump in? I could be wrong, but do you remember, wasn't the 20 series like wasn't this issue especially acute with those? Because if I remember, like the raster performance uplift was actually very small from the 10 series, because they put all the work into the debuting the ray tracing stuff.
Yeah, it had DLSS and ray tracing. Was the right. It had the tensor cores, or not the tensor cores, but the machine learning cores, right, which let it do DLSS basically, right, and a little bit of ray tracing.
So I think even the 20 series was not that big a leap in traditional performance over the 10 series, other than DLSS. So that one is extra kind of outdated.
Yeah, and I think I have to look at the hardware specs on the NVIDIA on the next gen consoles. I think it's the one that's probably the most aligned with the next gen consoles, except you're not going to get the SSD throughput on that because it's a PCIe 3. Those systems are probably PCIe 3 systems.
Which ones, the consoles or those machines?
The machines from that. PCs. Machine of that 2017, 2018 era is going to be a PCIe 3 machine, I think.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. I want to say the console GPUs are in the 2070, 2080 ballpark.
Yeah,
but of course you get more
PCIe 4.
Yes, they have faster storage.
Yeah,
and you can eke more performance out of console hardware.
Well, and they have shared memory between the CPU and the GPU, which is a huge perf.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, like back to the actual question, like it probably makes the most sense to figure out what mid-range even is. Like I pulled up the Steam survey, hardware survey results here. Like looking at the cross-generational trends is probably a better way to go. So like in the top, they don't number these, but I'm guessing you have to go about 12 spots down on this list of graphics cards before you get anything above a 70. Also, I should mention the first like 15 cards are NVIDIA. You have to go almost 20 spots down and you hit an AMD and then an Intel Iris integrated, but it's the first like 15 are all NVIDIA cards. But the first 80, which is a 3080, is at least number 12 to 14. It's all 50 and 60 cards except for 170.
Yeah, right now NVIDIA is something like 75% of the market.
Yeah. But
according to Steam hardware survey.
Right. But so like the bulk of people are buying 50 and 60 cards. Is what this seems to show.
And then the other thing is that like I think mid-range at this point is 1080p and 30 to 60 depending on what games you're playing, right? The low end is 1080p 30 to 60. The mid-range, the thing that shocks me is that people expect shooters especially to run it faster than 60 hertz, even if they have like a 2070 or 3070 or something like that, which is a older mid-range card. So yeah, people's expectations. It's impossible to predict what people's expectations are.
Yes, that's for sure. I don't know that we have a great comprehensive answer to this question.
I'm glad that the Steam hardware survey exists, honestly.
Yeah, that's nice information to have. Graphics cards just seem expensive for the time being, and I'm not equipped to say if that's going to moderate at some point.
Well, so I mean, the thing that has always been true remains true, right? Like if you plan your purchases around console generations, you can generally buy one video card per console generation and be fine, right?
Yeah, you just need to stagger it then, right? Like you need to make sure
you want to be off a couple of years.
Yes. Yeah, you need to wait. You want to make sure you're buying your next GPU like some years after the consoles came out.
And that's assuming you aren't doing something ridiculous like trying to play games at greater than 4K or you want to play 244 hertz at 4K or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. A question here from Cat Will Mew. Do you ever get random notifications about class action settlements in your inbox? How do you know if one of these is legit?
I look for news stories about them usually.
I don't know do those come through email? I don't know if I've ever seen
sometimes
one in my inbox. All the ones I've gotten that are the least that I've noticed have been in traditional mail. I got one for Fortnite. I got one for a phone carrier I used to use, stuff like that. Yeah. Interesting. I always just anything legal, anything associated with any legal context, I feel like should come through actual mail.
Maybe I feel like I get more phishing attempts in mail these days than that are difficult to distinguish from phishing attempts in physical mail than email.
Yeah.
I generally like I read the news and then I go look at the class action site because you can usually find them attached to the lawyers' sites that did the class actions. They're hardly ever worth filling out for.
Yeah. I was going to ask what's your cutoff to make it actually worth participating? Joining the class. $30? Okay.
I don't know, $30.
Yeah, sure.
It's a nice lunch.
What's the best one you ever got?
I don't know. I got a lot of V-Bucks back from Fortnite because they defrauded me.
Wait. They didn't actually pay you in V-Bucks, I assume.
I don't think they paid me in V-Bucks.
Okay. Just making sure.
I don't think I've actually seen anything from that yet either, for what it's worth.
The world has gotten strange, but I don't think we're doing legal settlements in virtual video game currency yet, right?
I got $100 for something once. I think that was related to bank fraud. Because my bank the bank let the ATM. Basically, the bank was bad at keeping the credit card numbers or the bank account numbers secret and exposed us to a fair amount of risk. And you could either sign up for money plus like credit monitoring, which we already had from some other class action settlement, or just money. And you got the cash value of the credit if you didn't need the credit monitoring, you got the cash value of the credit monitoring, which was kind of expensive. So, I mean, I guess that was nice.
That's not bad. Not long. I think like a year ago, I got like $75 from something Apple related. I think it had to do with Genius Bar repairs. Oh, I cannot remember exactly what the deal was, but something I had gotten a MacBook repaired at some point, and sure enough, 775 felt like a score.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I still have the check for I didn't want the money, but I joined the PlayStation 3 other OS class action suit.
Yep.
Just because I thought it was a bizarre situation and I wanted to be in there, and so I still have the $10 check from that.
That was the most powerful computer ever made.
That's right.
And you weren't able to. All it was worth was $10 to not be able to run Linux on it anymore.
Terrorists were going to be doing missile guidance on that thing.
That's my understanding. Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Class action suits. They're silly.
Yeah.
Here's a question from the Moon Room. Why don't programs that stop responding in Windows ever seem to recover? I was watching a streamer play Lethal Company, and he got the program has stopped responding pop-up. After about 10 seconds, the game recovered. I have literally never had this happen on any of my computers. Why is that?
I don't think I could possibly wait 10 seconds to find out if it was going to recover. Alt F4 relaunch, baby, every time.
Yeah, it depends on what it is. If it's like a copy operation on data that you think like from say like a USB drive that might be bad or something, you probably don't want to.
Nope. Alt F4, kill it, move on.
I guess my best answer to this is that there's probably 1,000 different things under the hood that could be going on to hang a program like that, and it really depends on what the nature of that is, the root cause, whether it resolves itself or not.
It's funny. Yeah, I was watching a streamer play Fortnite the other day, and like the game hung and looked like it had crashed, and then it just started working again. I was like, wow, that has literally never happened to me. That must be nice.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You think about all the things that could be going wrong, like some kind of like buffer underruns or overflows, or like reading from bad storage media, or you tell me what else could be causing something like that. Like some of those things are going to like complete and resolve themselves, and some of them are not. Is about the best I've got for you.
I mean, sometimes something else will hang up like if a game's downloading in the background, Steam will flood the drive, and that can. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Usually if stuff hangs, it doesn't come back in my experience. Sometimes browser tabs, sometimes I will say, sometimes Firefox, a tab crashes, the whole thing hangs for a second, and then it kills the tab thread and it restarts and everything's cool. Yeah. So good job, Firefox.
Yes,
you deserve your 0.5% market share.
God, is it that low now?
It's bad. It's not. I'm going to tell you, Firefox market share is bad.
That's grim.
It's not great. Here, let's see.
Oh no!
I opened up. Oh wow, that is. I can't even. It's like down there with Opera now. It's sad.
That's pretty rough. I am a Chrome user largely because like I use so many web apps that like everything is tested against Chrome primarily. So it's just a compatibility play. I just want. On a given week I use at least 3 different video call services, if not more. So like I just want everything to work, and Chrome is kind of the thing that is the most guaranteed that everything's going to work in.
Wow. Edge is 5.5 overall. I can't get Firefox to pop up because it's in with like Samsung Internet and Opera.
Dude, that's
3.24% overall.
Okay, that's
6% of desktop.
That's multiple whole numbers.
Use Firefox. Firefox is good. I don't have any problems with it.
Yeah, I like I said, I would use it if like we would run into issues with like Jitsi occasionally, or vMix call or something like that, not being exactly perfect on there. And when you're like trying to get a stream going and you don't have time to deal with a browser not behaving itself, like it's kind of easy to just default to the thing everybody uses.
That's true. In full disclosure, I'm using Chrome to do this Jitsi call right now.
Oh, yeah, you've been there. Actually,
I have to use Edge when I talk to my therapist. So,
interesting.
It's a dark time. Starting those conversations off on the wrong foot every week.
Is it over Teams?
It is not over Teams. It's not that bad. No.
Okay. God. Okay. Therapy over Teams.
No, thank you.
Don't. Just don't.
Hey, I will say, Teams has added a couple of new features lately that are very interesting. They added a speaking coach that tells you when you're talking too fast or too slow or using too many filler words. It also will now let you mute anybody. Anybody can mute anybody else in the call, and it doesn't tell you who muted you. So, I mean, I wouldn't suggest that people should abuse that feature, but it's nice to know it exists.
Are those all machine learning driven features, would you guess?
The muting is just you right click on the button on the person you don't want to hear from anymore, and you can mute them in whatever size call you want.
Yeah, I meant more like the language profiling and stuff like that.
I assume the language profiling is machine learning based. Yeah,
I feel like as rumors about Windows 12 swirl, and you see like every major tech company, like AI is the thing they're chasing, and like we talked about with the next Intel CPUs, the Meteor Lake stuff with their tiles, like they've got the NPU, everybody is building machine learning compute and all their stuff. Like we are just going to see an explosion of AI driven OS features, aren't we, soon?
Real half-assed bad features.
Yes. Like especially on the Microsoft, like the Microsoft tendency to try to implement their own version of everything under the sun. Like what is Windows 12 even going to look like?
Well, I mean, okay. So just to be clear, Apple and Google have been doing this for a while. Like the image identification, like the context aware image search has been on Google Photos for years now, and iPhoto has had, or Photos on the iOS devices has had the same thing where you could type dog and it shows you all the pictures of dogs, and it's shockingly accurate. It's the next layer of that is, hey, we'll write some shit for you that is full of lies and inaccuracies. Like where it goes from being a thing that makes it easier to search and understand when you're like, what's the word? Like if you search for snacks you eat during movie, if you search for popcorn, it's like, oh, hey, I didn't find popcorn, but a lot of people eat Junior Mints during movies. Do you want to look for Junior Mints?
Right.
Like that's useful and good, right?
Yes.
It's the, hey, do you want me to write this report for you? And then it just makes a report full of lies, or writes your legal brief and cites cases that don't exist, or, whatever stupid use you've had that day, or generates images out of stolen images from other people. All of those are bad.
Yes, to me, it's the difference between like better search is a useful helper function, right? Like who wouldn't want like more effective search? But like when it's trying to substitute itself for you, it's like, hey, maybe we should give you some advice on what you should be saying right now, or how you should be talking. It's like when the AI starts trying to fill in for what you would normally be doing itself, I feel like is when it's overstepping.
Well, it does things like tell you, hey, you're talking over somebody, or you're interrupting the same person over and over again. It's like, hey, man, if you use non-inclusive language, it yells at you for that. Although you can use extremely colorful language with no complaints. So
interesting.
We were testing the boundaries on it at work the other day.
Fair.
Jason Schreier article coming soon, I assume.
Okay. I won't ask if that was
It was a sanctioned event.
Okay, I was going to say that was a test in a vacuum in a controlled environment.
We were, yeah.
Okay.
Look, sometimes you blow off steam after a game release, and you do it in an inclusive way that doesn't impact anybody in a negative way. Everybody fucking hates Teams. So
sure,
Teams is actually pretty good, but don't tell anybody. Anyway.
We're just going to move on. Actually, since we were just talking about Chrome, here's a question from Cake Batter. I can't visually distinguish any Google app anymore. They're all an ambiguous shape, the same 4 colors, and always impossible to find. When will Google realize this is a bad idea? Like the Google,
they're not wrong.
It's not wrong. Like the Google look is extremely well understood and well defined at this point, right?
Yeah, it's red, yellow, blue, and Google Translate has the old app still, and Smart Lock has the old app now still. But man, everything else, you are right. Everything else is like white background, red, blue, yellow, green, and then like a pin for maps, 31 with a box around it for calendar, because I guess there's 31 days in some months. Photos is just some half circles. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's a pinwheel.
Yeah. I had to go get Google Home to set up my TV because it's a Google TV, and like it looked exactly like every other Google app on my phone. It's just like, how would one tell the difference?
Yep. Well, it's a picture. It's a tiny picture of a home. Yeah. Google One is a 1. Mm-hmm. Google Drive is a triangle for some reason.
I don't know if I have a good answer to this other than the design language evolves, and hopefully they'll evolve away from this at some point.
Why is Google Assistant 4 different size dots that are kind of look like a backwards P? Maybe that's a forwards P. No, it's a backwards P.
Somebody thought that was a good idea. Somebody did a lot of market research and focus group testing to arrive at that decision, right?
But I mean, the thing is, I feel like this is the kind of thing that wouldn't have happened when Marissa Mayer was still there, because she was actually good at this kind of visual language stuff, like super good at it. Mm-hmm. Like early Google was really cohesive and smart and good. And admittedly, it was a dramatically less broad platform back then, but still, yeah, I don't know. It's a company that's too big for any one person to probably make an impact on at this point.
Yes, you're probably right. Let's see. Question from Evie Nix. When I was a kid, I had a Game Shark for my Nintendo 64. Like many janky third-party cheat devices of its era, it sometimes didn't work. For example, it wouldn't boot up. In response, my dad would tell me to put it in the freezer for a time and then give it a go after letting it thaw out again. In hindsight, I genuinely have no idea what this was meant to accomplish, and I'm not sure it ever actually did anything. Is there some weird 90s electronics lore that could explain this behavior?
I don't know. It's like, this is like blowing in cartridges, right?
Right. You got to slow down. You got to slow down the electrons,
Like, well, okay. So I feel like when you had hard drives that the bearings seized, one of the things you would do is tell people to put them in the freezer for like 10 minutes so that the oil would get viscous, and then as it breaks the tension on it, the friction on it or something. I can't remember.
Weird.
I don't remember how that works.
I would think you'd have to warm it up to make it more viscous, not cool it. Well, interesting.
I feel like maybe that one was paired with when you spin it up, you whack it once, so it has a shock that before the heads are unparked that will release the tension on the viscous liquid.
I'm just gonna, before you move on, I'm gonna jump in. I especially as I'm about to go back out to my parents again soon. Like I've got a stack of like 5 old hard drives from 30 years ago that I want to try to get stuff off of at some point.
Buy one of those USB tubers.
Oh yeah. That's what I would get for the interface. But you describing this issue with old hard drives is exactly what keeps stopping me. Is I'm terrified that I'm going to try to spin them up and they won't, and then they'll seize or whatever.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: the data, if the data is still on the disks, it's like you plugging it in isn't going to remove it from the disks.
Oh, I know that. I know. I'm more worried about something mechanical failing permanently in there.
I mean, the thing is, when you turn it on, the rule on old hardware is when you turn it on the first time, you should be prepared to get everything off of it with the assumption it's not going to work again. Right.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I will DD that drive instantly.
Yeah. But like, this feels like blowing in cartridges, which I believe my understanding is never did anything except for maybe if you had dust in them.
Yeah. I think I saw somebody talking about the NES cartridge thing recently. I think those contacts were like known to corrode somewhat or something along those lines.
Yeah, probably
is why that was such a common problem. That would make sense. At least
my Mental Floss did a thing that, the moisture could damage the connections. Mental Floss did a thing that said, hey, the original NES design was kind of faulty. And sometimes what you were really doing was having another chance at seating it and unseating it, or unseating it and seating it, which would fix the problem more than blowing in it.
Yes.
I believe that the Japanese NESs, which were just top loaders, didn't have the problem. It was our weird caddy ones in the US that were the issue.
Yeah. This is random. I was reading a Twitter thread recently about the way that cartridge-based consoles work. Mm-hmm. And this makes total sense when you see it spelled out this way, but I'm not an electrical engineer, so I never thought about it before. But the way they phrased it, like they were talking about like, oh, console or cartridge-based consoles are so elegant. They're so elegantly designed. Here's how they work. The innards of the console are essentially just an incomplete circuit, and plugging the cartridge in and hitting power is just, you're literally just completing the circuit and allowing it to do what it would do.
Yeah.
Once it can, can run the whole loop. I just thought that was a really cool, elegant way to think about that.
It's kind of bonkers, right?
Yeah. Shall we do a couple more here?
Yeah, we can do some more.
Question from, okay, this has to be, it's an octothorpe or a hash. It's a bunny eye emoji, and it's like a devil. It's like
that's a fiend. Yeah, that looks like a fiend to me. Fiend? If my math is right.
Is that the name? Is that the actual name of that emoji? A fiend. Sometimes it's bunny crimes. You never know.
Yeah, anyway. I think that's a bunny. I think originally we're back to the old school. That's a bunny fiend to me.
If I pour chocolate milk into the glass I've been drinking Arnold Palmer's from all day, do I drink the chocolate milk or throw it out? That's
a big no for me, dog.
I gotta agree that chocolate milk is forfeit.
It's going to be curdled and weird, and it's not like, honestly, chocolate milk is kind of suspect on the best of times for me.
Wait, what?
What?
Oh, no.
What? No, really? Have you had chocolate milk as an adult, Brad?
Oh, no. I haven't had chocolate milk in 20 plus years or 30 years.
Buy a thing of chocolate milk and then we'll talk about it next week.
Okay. That was ambrosia as a child, though.
Yeah, but that's just because you had never had, our palates were limited as youth. It's not the nectar that you remember it being.
My palate was largely limited to the institutional lunch fare of the North Carolina public school system.
Yeah, This is one of the great food questions though. Like what's the mixture? Like if I have a soda and then I put water in on top of that ice because I want ice water and don't want to have to use more ice, and the water is a little brown after that, that's probably fine. I'll drink that all night. That's no issue. But like milk and anything with acid is going to be a hard no. Mm-hmm. Like coffee, like an iced coffee with water after it is gross. That's horrifying. I don't know. Milk, anything that dilutes milk is going to be gross.
Yes, I'm with you.
I'm not feeling that.
Yeah.
I do respect the Arnold Palmer game though. So anybody who takes the effort to have the lemonade and the iced tea around to make an Arnold Palmer during a normal workaday life, that's a baller move.
I don't think I've ever had an Arnold Palmer.
What?
Arnold Palmer. Why is that slightly a tongue twister?
So there's a bunch of questions about the Arnold Palmer. I'm not going to take any more questions on this topic. The right answer is that you put half a thing of lemonade and then you put the iced tea on top and let the iced tea kind of sink down into the lemonade. You do not stir the Arnold Palmer. You tip it in such a way that you get a little sip of lemonade, a little sip of iced tea.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like a black and tan where you're trying to suspend one on the other? Also, I have become aware that black and tan is a shitty name for that drink. I don't know an alternative as yet.
Half beer, half Guinness, half lager, or whatever.
It is. Oh God, what is it? I knew this at one point. It's not lager. I don't think it's a certain kind of ale.
Was it Boddington's or something? No,
Bass. I think it's like Guinness and Bass.
It's Bass ale. That's right. Yeah, I used to drink a lot of those.
But anyway, as that term relates to kind of Irish history and liberation, it's not great. But I don't know if there's an alternative for it yet. Anyway, like those types of two-tone, like liquid suspended on top of other liquid drinks are really interesting.
Yeah, I drink we have a lemon tree and make iced tea in the summertime, so that's a straight summertime bev for me.
Yeah, people do boozy Arnold Palmers. I feel like, or am I thinking about Long Island iced teas?
So people make an Arnold Palmer with a like I am okay. I'm not judging, but I am a little bit maybe. You can get like a bottle Arnold Palmer. Snapple will sell you an Arnold Palmer that has both lemonade and iced tea in it. Does not contain the magic of the real drink. You can also get a boozy malt liquor, like a fancy wine cooler that's Arnold Palmer flavored. I'm sure that gets the job done, but probably not for me.
Yeah, that's fair. You have standards.
Okay. That said, I've been known to float in a pool in Arizona in the summertime and drink iced tea and bourbon. So I shouldn't be judging no one.
That's fair. Yeah.
I'm going to go tell you, iced tea and bourbon, very good.
Yeah, I can see it. Caffeine and alcohol, though. I don't know.
Look, it worked for what do you call it? The hell was that stuff?
I can't remember. Sparks. Think of Sparks.
Sparks was one of them. There was the other one though. We always had. There was one that was always floating around the whiskey media basement that I was never.
Sparks. That's the one that looked like a battery. It looked like an alkaline battery.
That seems right. Yeah. Sparks or
there was a lot of talk about getting your hands on some contraband pre-banned Sparks from before.
Yeah,
there was another energy was banned. There
was another one that came on after that though. After Sparks was already banned, I think you're probably not wrong. I can't remember though. Yeah, there's a lot of this is a search term that looks expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, whatever you do, don't make an Arnold Palmer out of the Panera charged lemonade.
Jesus,
that can't be on the market much longer, right?
Look, man. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, you know what? I would like to have a lemonade that might take my life.
All right, let's move on. This question came in from Millhouse of Horrors 6 because it's from October, and that's probably not what they're going by anymore, but that's what I've got here. Which game controller do you think lends itself best to inputting text when interacting with text fields in games? Also, do you have a preference for having an on-screen keyboard to interact with, or are you more of a fan of just being able to scroll through the alphabet with the up and down on a D-pad or similar?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm a big fan of anything that pops up a notification on my phone that's like, hey, you want to just type it in here?
Yeah, sure.
That's pretty good.
That's probably better than any controller-based on-screen keyboard.
I feel like the Xbox app lets you do that, but I don't. It turns out I don't play a lot of console games that involve game text input, I guess.
Yeah, it's mostly like signing into accounts and stuff like that.
And most of those
searching for things.
Yeah, like on the I had to sign in my daughter's Xbox account on her Switch the other day, and I just aimed a QR code at my phone and then logged in on my phone, which was really nice.
That's my favorite now. I don't think the consoles have quite gotten there yet, but I hope they do, because yes, just pointing your phone at the screen and then half the time you're already signed into whatever service it is on your phone anyway.
I'm trying to think. I think I had to nuke my Xbox the other day, and I think I was able to do a phone sign in with that. I think I just aimed a QR code when I set up the machine, and it was like, right. Oh, you're this. And then you approved it on another machine.
You're right. I haven't set up an Xbox since 2020, but I think as of the Series X launch, you could just do it all through your phone.
Yeah. Well, and they're Microsoft Authenticator, which I have problems with because you can't use a third-party authenticator, but it lets you do like two-factor sign in just by signing into your phone and saying, yes, I approve this device.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Let's see, the PS5 and I think the PS4 also have the gyroscope aiming for the on-screen keyboard. Which,
I like that.
It's not bad. It's very sensitive though. It's really easy to overshoot what you're trying to do.
Can you use is it like you can also use the touchpad for the PS5.
That's right, actually. Yeah.
That's my favorite on the PS5,
I don't think I've tried that. Maybe I should give that a shot, actually.
Steam Deck does a thing where each stick is one half of the keyboard, like left stick is left half of the keyboard and right stick is right half of the keyboard, and you pull the appropriate trigger on the side to tap it in. But also the Steam Deck's a touch screen device, so you can just touch the screen in most games.
Sure.
Yeah. I hate the A through Z.
Yes,
that's a war crime.
Yes, as absolutely. As to the other question, the scrolling through the alphabet for every character is an abomination.
Literally the worst. Yeah, those people should be fired they should be fired into the sun.
Yeah, like I do. And then there's been kind of a move toward that in a lot of UI lately for whatever reason. Like I see it in parts of iOS and parts of Windows where it's like every single digit, that's all you've got. It's like a radial wheel.
Microsoft was super in love with that as part of the Metro designs, I think.
I think that's where it still pops up in Windows is stuff that's descended from that or whatever.
tvOS is the worst for that. tvOS always when you're searching, but also tvOS has a microphone on the remote, so you can just hit the voice button and talk to it.
Yeah. Also, I deal with a lot of CMSs, and CMSs were also doing that for data entry a lot, which is just, it's also bizarre to see design trends just like propagate through the industry.
What I think it was the Drupal date widget was maybe the all-time worst example of this, where you had to scroll through months, days, and years. There's no pull down or type ahead option. I think it was Drupal. I can't remember. It was terrible. Might have been whatever framework we used for the whiskey sites back in the day.
What in the world is Drupal?
Drupal's it's like a WordPress with no that's just the back end stuff, and then you apply your own front end to it. It's the same stuff that it's like what we used for whiskey. I think Drupal's PHP. I can't remember. It might be Python now.
Oh, it's a framework. Okay.
But it's like a framework that lives on top of your web stack.
Sure. Another cake batter question here. Salt and pepper, freshly ground or pre-ground? For example, Maldon sea salt or a bulk container of Kirkland pepper? Is there ever? I absolutely do not know. I'm getting.
Oh, you're getting the eyes from the other room.
I'm getting strong vote for freshly ground from the doorway here. I am no culinary expert. Is there ever a time that freshly ground wouldn't be better?
I don't think it matters for salt.
Yeah, maybe not.
Because there's nothing to degrade in salt. It's just minerals. They're going to be the same always.
Sure.
I freshly grind pepper most of the time.
Yeah.
Unless I'm doing like a huge bulk thing.
Yes. So do we.
Yeah. I have a coarse grinder and a fine grinder too.
We've got a little OXO that's got a little slidey thing on it. It may not be the most precise, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, we have a big red. It's like a knobbly. It's like the thing that the guy at House of Prime Rib uses when he peppers your salad.
Oh, is it wooden?
It's wooden with like enamel paint on enamel paint on the top.
Big gigantic wooden knob on the top of it.
A big knob on the top. You can tighten the screw or loosen it to make it finer or less fine. I find that it's better to have that one's usually the cracked one, and then the fine one we have a one with a crank on the top for.
Sure. Let's see. This might be the last question. It's kind of ties into your career stuff a little bit from Sub-Zero Spells. As two people who have pivoted their careers over the past half decade, do you have any advice for someone who might have lots of career experience in one field, wanting to get into an adjacent field? For example, in my case, having over 10 years of experience in device repair, IT support, and server and networking installations, and wanting to move towards a more electrical engineering and product design world.
Boy, I don't have any idea. I don't know how you do that intentionally.
Yeah. This is probably going to be an unsatisfying answer, but yes, I think you're probably right. This is something that you end up backing into, or that there's no real prescribed pathway to do.
Yeah, I think this one came from the Discord. I would love if there's a conversation about this. I would love. I mean, I think so. The classic answer is be prepared to do a job that pays either dramatically less or is free for a little bit to learn if that's even a thing you want to do. That's hard. I think if you're willing to take pay cuts, it's easier.
Yeah.
Or able to take pay cuts, it's easier.
I have absolutely. I'm thinking of a couple of specific examples, especially like you and I were in the press, and we know a lot of people that have gone into like PR or game development or other things like that. And I absolutely have heard stories of people taking even successive pay cuts in some cases to get into the thing that they wanted to do and then building back up.
Yeah.
Which is also not a satisfying answer.
No, it's, I mean, if you have like electrical engineering is a specific, like there's some skills you need degrees and certifications for a lot of that work.
Yeah.
Right. So that's an easier one. If you go to school, if you do the whole, I'm going to do school and work at the same time and get an EE degree, that makes it easier because then you pass your boards. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah. I actually just this very morning heard about an old family friend who's about our age who spent his entire career in fine dining until recently and then up and went to nursing school. So
that's yeah.
So like that's a tough one though, like midlife, if you have like family commitments or financial responsibilities, to just up and go back to school is not especially easy.
The other thing is I find that like soft skills stuff transfers pretty well.
Yes.
So, if you know about contracts in one area of business, that contract work can transfer over to pretty much any place else that people sign contracts, which is, depending on the business, a lot of different places. And that might give you an in someplace else that you want to, where somebody has a limited need for that, some subset of your skill set. So for example, if you wanted to get into game stuff and you do a lot of IT support and server and like making Windows and computers do the things you want to do, like with weird scripts and stuff like that, that is an incredibly valuable thing that is not a full-time job at most game studios, but is a desirable, important part of those jobs, a subset of somebody's job there. And like, you might be able to use that as an in to get in someplace. And then with the stated goal going in of expanding out into some area that you're maybe not an expert in to fill a niche.
Yeah. Also,
if you're willing to take on the scut work in order to learn something new, that's a pretty good sell in a lot of places, in my experience.
Yeah. Also, this probably doesn't even need to be said, but if you're looking to pivot to another discipline within your existing company, then you've got a pretty big leg up, because you can just socially try to go start, like don't bother people while they're working or whatever, but like try to rub elbows with the people doing the stuff you would like to do a little bit, like pick their brains, maybe see if you can.
Well, to talk to managers,
strike up
make that part of your performance plans, right?
Yeah.
So, good luck though. It's always fun.
Yes. Will the Fourth. We'll take this next one here.
Okay.
From Will the Fourth. Is it worth buying a new office or gaming chair, or just getting a used one? I am in need of a new chair for my home office, and I don't know what is a feature and what is a gimmick. What do you look for when buying an office chair?
So you bought a refurbed, like a third party refurbed. I have a new chair.
Yes, I have a refurbed Steelcase Leap V2.
Yeah, I have a Steelcase Gesture that I got for doing some sponsorship work for them. Full disclosure.
Yeah, but yours was new, is the point, though.
It was new out of the box. I also had bought two Herman Miller reaction chairs from like office refurb, office furniture resellers, right? Who had bought used chairs and cleaned them up and resold them. I don't think that there's any reason not to buy a used one for the most part.
I've had pretty good luck. I got mine from btod.com. No relationship there. I just paid for it. Not endorsing them necessarily, but I think all the refurbs are kind of the same. Like, they replace the gas cylinder. Some of them vary. Like, some of them will put a new cushion on. Some of them will kind of like steam and refurb the existing cushion, but they will recover it.
Yeah.
But like most of the wear and tear parts, like the things that like the gas cylinder that need to be replaced, they'll go ahead and do that. So it's like, I'm not going to say it's a like new chair, but like mine had, a little bit of cosmetic scuffing on it, but otherwise felt pretty new. And this was like half the price.
Yeah. I think, it also, like, I wanted to get a specific, so literally I got the sponsorship because I sent them a note and was like, hey, I'm getting ready to buy this chair, but if you guys want to do some sort of thing, we can talk. And they were like, oh, we'd love to do something. We love Twitch and podcasts and stuff.
Man, I should try that sometime.
It doesn't always work. But so I got a specific color pattern, right? Which is harder to do when you're doing a refurb chair. I would look at the warranty on whatever you're doing, whether it's refurb or not. The new chairs from Steelcase have like a 12-year warranty or something. I would look at the stuff that the refurb places cover specifically. They're not going to do cosmetic stuff, but I would, if like an arm falls off or the chair gets loud and squeaky or something like that, I would expect them to take care of that. When I'm looking for a chair, I profoundly, as a general rule, I really dislike gaming chairs. I think that they're often like remarketed, rebadged aftermarket car chairs. They don't last particularly well. So the benefit of buying a nice task chair versus a gaming chair is that the task chair was designed to last for 10 or 12 years, and the gaming chair is designed to be replaced every 2 years. So it's like it's the classic $50 work boots versus $300 work boots problem, where they cost the same thing over 10 years. If you have the money up front, you're usually better off buying the task chair. In this case, you're also better off buying the nice chair because typically they're better ergonomics than a gaming chair that's designed to be sat in for a couple hours a day.
Yeah. That is exactly how I arrived at getting this chair. Was I had to resist my natural inclination to get the cheap, good enough thing. Because exactly what you said, like especially if you work at home or you just play games a lot at your PC or whatever, like you're sitting in that thing for that many hours a day for years on end. Make the investment in yourself and your posture, your ergonomics. It's
like mattresses, right? You buy a good mattress. The things I look for are adjustable back, adjustable seat pan, adjustable arms. If you like a headrest is good. But having arms, like the reason I like the Gesture specifically is because the arms go up and down, but they also go in and out. So like when you're playing a console game, you can have them resting in. So your forearms just rest on them in the neutral position. Your hands are crossed at your lap with the controller in place. Oh. I can make it go low enough that I can use a wheel and lower my desk down to be in like car racing mode. It's a comfy chair, and I sit in it a lot.
I mean, the best advice I can give, and this may be tricky depending on where you live, but if at all possible, go try to sit in whatever model you're considering. Yeah. Because everybody's body is different, and you're not going to know 100%. No matter what you read about any chair online, you're not going to know exactly how you conform to it until you try it.
The other thing is, most people don't realize this chairs come in sizes, and the sizes are based on both the size of your body and your weight. So you want to get something that's rated for your weight. And you want to get something that's sized appropriately for you. If you're very short, you don't want a chair that's sized for somebody that's 6'5", because you're going to be, the lumbar support's going to be the wrong place. It's not going to feel good. It's going to feel like you're sitting you're a tiny kid sitting in an enormous chair.
Yeah. Also, I'll add on here, like a footrest might be something to invest in, regardless of what kind of chair you get. There are specific parameters about how your legs, I forget what they are. It's like, the seat pan
right angles.
Right angles. Like, seat pan should only be X inches from the back of your knee.
You don't want to put a lot of weight on the underside, the underside of your thighs, because you'll cut off circulation, give yourself nerve damage if you do it long enough.
Right. So whatever seating arrangement you end up in, like a footrest might help to correct some of that stuff as well.
I bought a $30 memory foam footrest that has tacky stuff on the bottom that's been fabulous from Amazon. I can put a link for that in the show notes if you want.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. Like Brad said, try it out, watch some posture videos on YouTube about how to set up your workspace properly so you don't hurt yourself. And that's pretty much it.
Indeed. And I think that might be it for questions.
Oh, well, if you have a question, you can send them to techpod@content.town, or if you're on the Patreon, you can post them on the Question Seeking Answers channel. Thanks everybody who sent in questions, and thanks for bearing with us this week. Sometimes it's hard. Mm-hmm. As always, if you would like to support the show, you can do so. You can become a patron of the show and support Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod, which is a 100% listener supported show, by going to patreon.com/techpod. Again, it's patreon.com/techpod. And for $5 a month, you get access to the fabulous TechPod Discord. You get access to the monthly patron exclusive episodes. And you can even pay a little bit more and get your name read monthly or weekly, depending on where you end up. So as always, thanks to everybody, but very special thanks to our executive producer, tier patrons, including Nick Johnston, Paddle Creek Games, makers of Fractured Veil, Andrew Slosky, Jordan Lippett, Bunny Themed, Just Wedge, Joel Krauska, Twinkle Twinkie, David Allen, James Kamek, and Pantheon, makers of the HS3 high-speed 3D printer. Thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you.
And that'll do it for us this week. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next time on the Tech Pod. Bye, everybody.